Are you ready, Chesley? Here it is, Sunday afternoon. I'm going to tell a story. Yes, we are going to tell this wonderful story today, and it's going to be about David and Goliath. David and Goliath, and it's found in the Old Testament in 1 Samuel chapter 17, beginning at verse 4. And now I'm going to sing. If you would fight great against all evil, neither run or lag behind. If you would win for God and the right, just keep on the firing line. Well, this story today about David tells us something about that. And was he a soldier? Well, I'll tell you what, he was a shepherd boy, and he was out taking care of the sheep. Didn't he have these brothers in the army? Oh, yes, he had 3 brothers in the army. And these wicked Philistines. And they didn't love God. No, they didn't love God, and they hated Israel, and they were just out to get them. But David had these 3 big brothers, and they were big and strong. Oh, they were big and strong. And David, he was, he just a little kid. Oh, yeah, he was just a teenager probably, and I don't know how tall he was, but he definitely wasn't a giant. And so how did he come up with this giant? Well, how he come up on this giant? His dad would send him to go check on his brothers from time to time. Hey, you know what? You're still sounding kind of funny. What's wrong with you? Chesley, nothing wrong with you. I think you're sick. You're going to disease me. No, I'm not going to disease you. Chesley, I am not dangerous to your health. And so I'm okay. I have no temperature, so you're not alive. I am alive. But Chesley, let's tell the story. That is what is important. Did you have a visiting preacher today? Yet? We're telling the story, and now you're going off on a rabbit trail. No, I won't do it after this preacher. What was his name, Gherkin? Yes, his name was Gherkin. Was he a tickle? No, he's not a pickle. Jesse, that was really bad for you to say that. Well, I thought was his sermon tickle? No, his sermon wasn't pickled. Jesse, his name was spelled G-I-R-K-I-N-S. It wasn't G-H-E-R-K-I-N. Well, I was just checking on that. I thought maybe he had tickle sermons. No pickle sermons. But we were really glad to have Brother Rick Gherkin and his wife Donna, and it was a very good message this morning, and his wife has a real sweet voice, sang a good song, and it was the pastor there. Oh yes, the pastor was there. He's kind of old, isn't he? Oh no, our pastor is not old. No, he's older than me. Well, I know he's older than you, but Chesley, let's don't talk about things like this. You're going to get in trouble tonight? Yes, you're going to get me in trouble tonight at church. Our story about David now and Goliath. And so what was the deal? Well, his dad was sending him to go check on his brothers because, those fellows was out there in battle and they needed to hear from home. Well, they needed something to eat. Oh, it was always good when he'd get check on them. He'd send David down to check and see how they were doing. And he always took them something to eat, plenty to eat. And did he have any pickles? Well, I don't know that they had pickles. But anyway, we should have called the Gherkins in. Well, Chesley, we're not talking about that right now. What we're talking about is that he went to check on his brothers, and when he did, he saw this giant of a man come up. Like how tall was he? Well, the Bible doesn't. It tells us, but not in the terms that we understand. It calls it in cubits. And some people, what is that thing? Well, we talk about inches, yards, and things, feet, things like that. But people think he was anywhere from 10 to 13 feet tall. Oh, that's a giant. That is it, a giant of a man. And he came out just as David got there. And he had all this care package for his brothers. He had fruits and he had cheeses and stuff. Oh, nasty cheese. Oh, some people like cheese. It's you and me don't like cheese. But anyway, he came there, he saw this giant of a man. It was unbelievable. He is so tall. And what's he doing here? He come out and he began to mock God. That is just awful. He is awful. And they need to deal with this man. Well, they were afraid of this man. He was so big. Well, he come out there and he said, I defy this one true God you talk about, you Israelites say. Yeah, he said, I'm just going to do this and that. Oh, yeah, he said, I'm going to take care of you all. Let's just have a duel here. What's that thing? Well, that's when you have 2 go out there. I'm the best guy in our army of the Philistines. Who's the best guy for you Israelites? Come on, send out your best guy. He said, ain't going. They looked at him, and he was so big, they thought there's no way. They thought they was going to get themselves killed. I don't blame them. I'd run hide. Well, that's what many of them did. They just stood hunkered back here and waited. But when David heard it, And he said, well, what in the world is going on here? Why doesn't somebody go? Because they were scared. They knew they didn't have a chance. David's brothers, when he located them, and he said, come on, one of you guys. He said, you get out of here. You're just embarrassing us. Get out of here. Why, they began to mock him. They began to tell him, you've run away from home. You left your sheep. Yeah, I thought he was a shepherd. He was a shepherd, but before he left, he made sure he had somebody to take care of those sheep. They laughed and mocked at him and just wanted him out of the way. And he began to say, the one true God that I serve, he can do this. He is the one that can help us. And he said he would go. Oh, that was just terrible. His brothers said, you're embarrassing us. One of his brothers said, just look what you've done. Get out of here. We don't need you here. And David cried out and said, is there not a cause? What was the cause? Because he heard what this giant was saying, defying God. He said, there's a cause here, and I will go. God will help me. Then what's going to happen? How's he going to go? Well, word got all the way up to Saul, who was the king, and he said, let me see this man. Who is wanting to go and fight this giant? We need somebody to go. They got David, and when he walked in, Saul was the tallest man in Israel. He stood head and shoulders above all of his men, all of his soldiers. And then here's David. And here was little David. He looked like a midget in comparison even to Saul. And Saul looked like a midget in comparison to this giant Goliath. He was shocked. He said, I thought there was going to be a big soldier here. Why, he looked at him. He said, why, son, you couldn't possibly make it. Oh, yes, I can, he said, in God's name. That's what David was so full of faith and confidence in God. And you know why? Because God had helped him. God had helped him even out on the mountains. Well, he had really giants come out there. There wasn't giants in height, but they were in ferocity. They were mean. What's that, Diego? Well, there was these mean things like bears and lions would come in. Oh, no, I'm going to run and hide. He didn't run and hide. He had a stick and he had a sling. A stick and a sling and a deer and a lion. Not me. I'm going to find me a hole to crawl into. Well, that's what Moses would have done, but David had a job to do. He was taking care of his father's sheep. So what he did, he called on God, and God helped him, and he killed him. He said, I kill these. I killed the bear lion. God will help me. And so what did Saul do? Did he become convinced? Saul saw the confidence and faith that this teenage boy had in God, and he said, I think I'm going to let you go. But he gave him his armor first. Now he's all fixed up. Well, he was weighted down. He wasn't fixed up. He had that armor, and it was huge. It weighed many pounds. And he thought, I can't handle this. I'm not used to this. This is what I'm used to, he said. And he held up the stick. And he held up a stick, and he had that sling. And he said, this is what I use, and God is going to be with me. And so Saul let him go. I imagine Saul kind of ducked his head, shook his head, and said, I'm crazy for doing this. But that kid has convinced me. Yeah, because he had faith and trust in God, and out he went. Oh, and what happened when that giant saw him? When the giant saw him, well, word had come that they have a man that's coming out, and he saw him. He thought, why, he's just a silly little kid. I don't even need anything. I don't need no armor. He didn't need the armor bearer that went before him carrying that big old armor. I don't even need you. I can handle, you come out to me just like an animal. I'm just going to tear you to pieces. He thought he needed no armor. He needed nothing but just his bare hands. And he was going to feed. He said, I'm going to feed you. I'm just going to feed you to the birds. I mean, the animals, anything. I mean, you don't have a chance. He said, you're coming to me, and you think you're coming with all that stuff you got. You know what? I'm coming to you in the name of the one true living God. And he ran to meet him. I'd have run away. Well, we might have run away. But he was thinking, what was he thinking? Well, he was thinking that he's so big I can't miss him. Oh, my, I had a way to look at it. And there's that little tiny stone. There was that little tiny stone, but he has great faith in God. And he went to, and that sling went round and round and round and round and round. And it went, Chesley. I settled down. And so the sling went round and round and round. And when he let it go, wham, it slammed him right there between the eyes, and it stunned him. Stunned him nothing. He was dead. He was as dead as a hammer. Dead as a hammer. I mean, boom, he was down. And what happened to the Philistine army when they saw that? You know, they said, if this kid can do this, let's get out of here. Just go fast. And they started running as fast as they could. And David, he went and did what he needed to do. He took that giant's own sword. He cut off his head and he carried it back to the camp. And he was giving God the glory because he had won the victory through God. He didn't take credit. He didn't take credit. He said God did it in that day. All of Israel and the Philistines saw the one true God, what he could do when a person had faith and confidence in him and acted on it. Oh, Chesley. Oh, it's you would fight the great, the true against all evil. That's it. Keep on the firing line. Chesley, it's time for you to go to bed. Oh, no, I sold the bed. You didn't sell the bed. Yeah, well, we're telling the story. I sold it. No. You didn't sell your bed. Well, you know something? I think the exterminators are in there. The exterminators? I didn't call the exterminators. You know, I did. Chesley, you didn't call the exterminators. The door is locked. They came into the door. Well, it's locked too. Well, they sneaked in. Chesley, there's no exterminators here. Yeah, because it's a termite. Chesley, you're telling me the story of a termite. There's no termite in there. There is a termite. He is from Texas, and he is a tall Texan. Chesley, I would have seen him if he had been in there. He's invisible to you. No. He's not invisible to me. He's just not there. Chesley, tell everybody goodbye. You don't believe me? Oh, my. I wish I had a better story than this that you'd believe. Chesley, goodbye. We'll see you next Sunday afternoon. Oh, thank you. Ooh. I think I forgot the girls. You forgot the girls. I got to tie that in the story. And you're stalling so you don't have to go to bed. Goodbye, Chesley. You're going to